What's up, everybody? Welcome to With All Due Respect. I'm Marcus Flowers, and that's our good friend Madeline Somerville. Maddie, how you
Hey,
doing today?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Marcus? I'm happy to see you.
No, I'm good. I'm good. It's an interesting day today. A busy news day,
It
and
is
a lot of stuff going on up on Capitol Hill today.
a lot of
Which
crazy.
we're going to get into here in just a moment with our guests, but you know, still got to remind people that there's a huge fight for democracy going on right now, and these confirmation hearings that are going on today are pretty important. So
Yep.
I've been thinking a lot about that and kind of watching some of that today before we got into the show. So, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of people who feel pretty defeated about it because they're like, what, we don't have a majority. What can we do? But we talk about on this show all the time, not having that defeatist attitude, because I
Yeah,
think the problem is just that we haven't messaged it correctly. I think we haven't told people, like, framed it in a way where they can receive it. And by they, I mean like swing voters that would bring people to our side. Because in my head, it's like if they knew, if they understood the
yeah,
gravity of this, maybe they'd change their minds. So I still have hope that things can be done, and that every time we look at a travesty, just an atrocity of justice, like trying to or trying to, have Todd Blanche be the AG, that
yeah.
there's something we can find that is a piece of proof that we can use to convince somebody to join our side.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we get into all that, everybody, this is the show where we cut through all the nonsense, call it out, and actually talk about what's happening. Not the version you get from people who think that yelling is a substitute for leadership.
Mhm.
Every week, we bring you real conversations with real people, candidates, organizers, experts, folks who aren't just talking about change, but who are actually out there making it happen. And then we break down the headlines because, let's be honest, it's a lot. The news cycle right now, war, politics, culture, it's all colliding, and somebody's got to make sense of it.
Yep.
So whether you're here to stay informed, get fired up, or just hear somebody say what you've been thinking all week, you are in the right place.
Welcome.
And with that, Maddie, let's get into it. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today. We don't have a guest. Maddie and I are going to be your experts, if you will, for today. That's we're here for that.
We
can
are.
handle that.
We're here for that.
And right at the top, what we're going to be talking about is the confirmation hearing that's going on. I think it's still going on right now
I think it is.
in the Senate Judiciary Committee for Todd Blanche's confirmation to, become the next United States Attorney General. I mean, he's already acting AG. He was a deputy AG. And we all know that Trump loves this whole acting thing.
Mhm.
He's pulled that a lot, but we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to talk about it in a way. And I know that people watch these hearings and they kind of see them for what they have become, which is performative in nature.
Mhm. On both sides.
On both sides, agreed on both sides, and I'm going to be as objective as I can be here.
Mhm.
It is performative on both sides.
Yeah.
Definitely. Senators and members are looking for, these little moments that are going to get them a good cable news hit,
Mhm.
where they say something ridiculous and, you know, it dominates the news cycle, or they use it
Right.
for fundraising.
Attention. Yep.
Yeah, it gathers
I
attention,
need
but
attention. Yeah.
that's not what these are supposed to be about.
No.
It's about really looking at a candidate, or the nominee, and going through their resume and seeing, are they the right person
Yeah.
to be representing the people of the United States in whatever position. This one just so happens to be for AG. I mean, we've got one also today for DNI. Um, so these department heads, these secretaries, when they sit in these confirmation hearings, or ambassadors or whoever need to be confirmed, you got to really take a look at that and
Mhm.
ask the serious questions. And we're going to take a stab at that today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do our best to kind of do it. And me, I'm, my background, everybody knows that I'm a compliance guy, in government. So that's what I did. I audited, major defense contractors and their systems, really complex systems, and I went through them with a fine tooth comb and audited that. That's really what should be happening with these confirmation hearings, because basically that's what it is. It's an audit of the nominee's record.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So basically what you use are the outcomes. You have a set of outcomes that need to be looked at. And then you have findings. And at the end of the day, you go through all of those outcomes and you look at how many findings you have. Were they good findings? Were they bad findings?
You got like a list of requirements,
Exactly.
that you have to meet, like a rubric of requirements you have to meet. And
It's a
then you
checklist.
look at and then you look at what the person's qualifications are and you see if it matches up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And our good friend Maddie is an attorney. So who better to
Thanks.
help me go down this list of
My
things?
alter ego.
That's it. So let's go ahead and kick this off, Maddie. And what we're going to be doing, we're going to kind of audit Mr. Blanche here. And, some of the key factors that we should be looking at to and evaluate an attorney general, first and foremost, in my mind, is independence from the president. So what our senators should be doing, and I think they are, at least as much as I've seen, what they should be doing is assessing whether the nominee has a track record of making decisions independent of political pressure, especially in cases involving the executive branch.
So can we just stop there for 1 second? Because
Let's stop there for 1 second.
I think this is one of the pieces that we could use to try to convince people that there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
So just starting there, okay?
Independence from the president.
Right, independence from the president, right? So obviously, whomever the president at any time decides to nominate is going to be somebody that's their choice, right?
Absolutely.
And they have the right to nominate whoever they want to. But that's the reason why independence from the president is a qualifier in every appointment, in every hearing. You have to examine independence from the president. It's not just now because this guy happened to be Trump's lawyer. That is an evaluation on top of the fact that, like, that's its own investigation on top of the fact that you're supposed to have independence from the president, because inherently it's somebody that you're choosing to bring. It's like when they did the hearings for the Supreme Court justices and they were like, yes, we know that, the president has a certain political agenda with abortion or whatever it is, or you have a personal relationship with somebody that they know. We just want to make sure that you are going to adhere to the rule of law. That's beyond and besides the fact that this guy used to be his lawyer. So I just wanted to put that framework on it first.
Oh, absolutely. And I was watching, some of the senators question Mr. Blanche on that. And we'll start with Senator Coons. I know I just said a lot of these senators get up and they ask wild questions.
Yeah.
Senator Coons addressed rightly during the committee hearing, will you be independent of this president? And Keith, we got that clip. Let's run that clip.
I don't know. Is the Department of Justice that you are running independent from the White House?
The Department of Justice, like every single department in the executive, is part of the executive. I mean, Article 2 of the Constitution gives the power of the executive to President Trump. So we certainly operate with integrity. We certainly operate in the single mindset to serve the American people and do the right thing. But I am a member, if confirmed, I will be a member of the cabinet. I'm serving in the acting capacity that way now, just like the other cabinet members. And President Trump can fire me whenever he wants. So,
do you have a sense why?
Okay, so let me try and be objective here. He said all the right things there.
Sure.
When he answered that question, said the right things. And even if he did act independently, the optics alone of him, they could undermine DOJ. They undermine neutrality, especially when it comes to matters of President Trump, who has let's face it, a criminal record. I mean, this
Right.
guy's
He objectively has a criminal record.
objectively,
Yeah.
he's got a criminal record. What is it? 34?
34 felonies on
34
top
felonies.
of, I guess it was a civil lawsuit with E. Jean Carroll, but you know,
I mean, and the judge said that he was liable of
the jury did of sexual
jury.
assault.
A jury said that he was
Yeah.
guilty of sexual assault, and then he defamed E. Jean Carroll after that, which she just, by the
Mhm.
way, got paid $5 million after
That's my
3
girl.
years of,
Yep.
you know, good on you, E. Jean. I'm sure.
Good
most
on
of
you,
it's gonna
Eugene.
go to-
Mhm. We are Team
all
Eugene, with all due respect.
Yeah, I love E. Jean. I
We
love
love
E.
Eugene.
And I'm sure a lot of that's going to her attorneys for attorneys fees, but you know, I think the big prize, which they're still fighting on, is that $80-something million
Yeah.
lawsuit that's coming up that she's supposed to get that money as well. So
Mhm.
good luck for you ever seeing that money, Eugene. At least you've got something to show. for that.
Millions. Yeah.
But I digress. You know, being objective as I can possibly be
Mhm.
here. And, you know, spoiler alert, guys, I'm a Democrat. I ain't going to be that objective when it comes to this guy. Die's already cast as far as I'm concerned. You know, on outcome number one on the checklist, however you want to state it,
Mhm.
he gets a negative from me. I mean,
Fail.
that's a finding. That's a finding.
Number one, fail.
I don't think he can be independent from this president. I don't think he is.
No one thinks that. That's why this is such a sham.
And I think there's another clip. And as much as I hate listening to the senior senator from Louisiana, you know, with this foghorn leghorn act.
He's so funny, though. He's so funny.
Yeah, Senator Kennedy is. I mean, he's something else. And this guy's Oxford. He went to Oxford.
Right.
He's a smart guy, but you know,
Yeah.
the act, it just kills me.
Exactly. Because it's like, you're not a small country boy. You know that, right? Like you went to
Yeah,
Oxford.
That stick with, you know, it just kills me. He is a smart guy, but he asked him a question as well. And Keith, can you play the clip of Senator Kennedy asking Todd Blanche something?
Are you and President Trump friends?
I'm his lawyer, was his lawyer, and now I'm the Deputy Attorney General. So I met him as his criminal defense attorney. I'm not sure there's very many people who have ever had a criminal defense attorney who calls that person their friend. I now have a...
Well, let me put it this way. Are you enemies?
No, we're not enemies at all. No.
Have you ever?
Okay. Freudian slip aside.
Oh, he flubbed the hell out of that question.
Freudian slip aside, and I'm gonna let you make a point on that.
Yeah.
He said, "I'm his lawyer." No, you're running for. I mean, not running for Attorney General. You're
Whatever.
being,
Trying to
being
get confirmed.
nominated
Yeah.
to be America's lawyer, the people's Attorney General, not President Trump. So you can't get that. You made that slip, but it says a lot to me.
Of all the times to make that flip.
At your Senate confirmation hearing,
Right.
I'm his lawyer. I mean, you know, I'm the acting AG. I'm the people's lawyer. You can't separate those two things in your mind.
Yeah, clearly you can't.
As a lawyer, you have some thoughts on that.
Yes.
But I think it's very telling. Me.
So again, we do try to be as objective as possible. So I'm going to give this to him, but it actually works against him in the end. So as somebody who has been friends with people that I've represented or have worked with them in a different capacity after, I always say, because you're supposed to, like, I'm their lawyer, right?
Mhm.
And it's because you're not supposed to say it, but you're supposed to think it. Like, they teach you, remember that you represented that person, because your obligations for confidentiality and your oath to protect their best interest survives the client relationship of like working on your case. So your confidentiality obligations exist forever. So it's something that they teach us to remember. Like, remember, think of it like you still have their best interest at heart, which is why you always have to do those conflict checks when you take those cases. So I get that that's why he would say something like that. I'll give him that. But right, that is the reason why he can't do this effing job.
You
That's the
can't
reason
be-
why, because you do have those confidentiality obligations.
Absolutely.
And at a certain point, there will be a case where you have to stick up for the people over the president. That's why this hearing is taking place, so that they can assess your credibility and whether or not you have the ability to set aside your relationship with
Right.
the person that's trying to get you appointed versus your obligations to the people. And if you have a confidentiality obligation that survives the length of that relationship, you cannot allow that to happen. There's no instance in which that makes sense.
Yep.
Because those two will be going up against each other, period.
Let me try and frame that in a different way.
Yeah.
And actually the same way. If I were president of the United States and I had my pick of AG, personally, I'll never be president of the United States. Just let's qualify that.
You'll be a good president.
Never gonna happen. But if I were president and I had an AG that I wanted to pick, I'd pick someone like I would pick Sally Yates, Georgian, former deputy AG. I'd pick her.
Great reputation.
I know her.
Mhm.
I met her. We've been friendly. We're not friends, but I like her, and I think
Right,
she's
it's someone you
great
trust.
AG, and I know she'd be independent. I know she would honor her oath to the Constitution,
Right.
to the people of the United States. I know she wouldn't listen to me if I said, "Hey, I want to prosecute one of my, political enemies."
Right.
She'd probably tell me to go get bent, Mr. President, if I were the president.
Which is the kind of person that you should want.
Which is who you should want.
Right.
I don't think Trump and Blanche have that relationship. I think Blanche is going to defer to Trump on everything, do exactly what Trump says. He's going to be as sycophantic as just about everybody else in the administration. So therefore, on outcome number one, we have 3 findings already.
Yep.
He was his personal criminal attorney.
Mm-hmm.
He has the
How many
optics
witnesses?
alone go against him, and I don't think he can separate himself from Donald Trump. Period.
He can't subconsciously, consciously, or professionally.
Or otherwise.
Yeah.
So, that's it. It's disqualifying.
Yeah.
Just on the first outcome.
And it's another example of, if this were Biden, this would never be okay.
Would never fly.
Like-
Biden or Obama.
Right?
Or
It would
both.
never fly for them.
Obama's
and-
Attorney General Eric Holder was, maybe they were friends and they played basketball. I don't even think they played basketball together. Or was
I mean,
it?
whatever. I try to appoint my friends too. I get it. It's just, this is different. This is really different. Like the crimes that they're representing, that he represented Donald Trump for, are related to his election.
Yeah.
It's not it didn't have anything. It wasn't like it was a side tangential random thing 50 years ago or something.
Exactly.
Right.
This is recently, so he fails for me on outcome number one.
Agreed.
But we've got 9 more outcomes to look
Oh,
at. So let's go right to number 2.
yes.
Respect for the rule of law.
Oh, that's a good one.
This is a good one. So what we got to do is look at his prior statements and actions and see whether they consistently prioritize legal principles over partisan outcomes. Okay,
Perfect.
now why is that? Why is that important?
Well, it's similar to the first one, but it's the same thing it's the same question the Supreme Court justices get asked, right?
Right.
We know that this is that we're sitting in a partisan building, like we're sitting in a building that's divided, and your oath of office is contingent upon your ability to take politics out of this and look at the law and make an objective decision. So question
Absolutely.
1 is, can you be objective when it comes to your relationship with the president? Question 2 is, can you be objective when it comes to your relationship with the political parties? Because the law needs to come first in both of those situations.
Absolutely. And I mean, for me, just listening to things I heard today in the hearing,
Hmm.
and I'm going to keep it there for a moment. I think
Hmm.
Senator Klobuchar asked him a good question, but I have other reasons why I don't think he's going to respect the rule of law. And Keith, let's run that clip of Senator Klobuchar today questioning him.
And one of the things that doesn't get as much attention is the non-death cases. The Hmong elder pulled out of his house in Minnesota in his underwear and Crocs in 10 below zero weather.
Yeah.
And as the nation's chief law enforcement official, do you agree that it is unacceptable for federal agents to forcibly enter someone's home without a warrant and drag them onto the street without even checking that they have the right person?
Fuck off.
Well, it depends on the circumstances, as you know. I mean, yes, obviously, law enforcement agents need a warrant to enter a house, except for limited exceptions to that. So yes, we very much believe in the constitutional protections afforded American citizens. The same protections are not afforded people who are here illegally. So it's not a black and white answer where I can say yes or no. But yes, I very much expect the law to be followed by our law enforcement agents.
So
I have so much to say. My head's going to explode.
yeah, I mean, now that we've had a string of these ICE killings, 2 in the last 3 days, 2 days.
3 in the last 5 days. There was
3 in the
another
last
one today.
That's
That's why Marcus put all of this stuff together for the show, because I've been focusing on the ICE stuff. There's too much crazy stuff going on for us to be able to cover all of it. That's why we do this, because you guys, I don't know what you're doing for your day job right now at 3:00, but you can't be expected to keep up with everything. We have to help each other.
Yeah, I
No.
know. I mean, and just that alone, and I'm glad Senator Klobuchar asked that question, because you had that with his predecessor, Pam Bondi.
Yeah.
Quick to say, oh, we're not going to investigate these shootings when it came to like Alex Preddy and Renee Good and Alex Preddy, and then further, her and Chrissy Nome went and demonized.
Yeah.
So I don't think either of them respected the rule of law. They're gone now, so I'm going to try and keep my focus on Todd Blanche here. But it feels like more of the same when it comes to that.
Yeah, 100%. So, couple of things. First of all, it is a softball question.
It's a softball one.
And Markwayne Mullin actually handled it exactly right in his hearing, to where when I was on Newsmax talking about it, I had to say, I'm just glad Kristi Noem's gone. Hopefully, Markwayne Mullin isn't lagging and he'll adhere to it, because he was like, yeah, if that's what they did, that's wrong. When he got questions like that. It's a softball question. He manipulated it in a way that the American public who isn't trained in this specific field would have no way to know. So let me tell you guys about it. So there are 2 separate, and you guys, many of you probably already know this, but there's 2 separate ways that these ICE officers, and by the way, they're confusing ICE and CBP. They're mixing Customs and Border Patrol with ICE so that we will be confused as to whom we should hold accountable.
Well, that is important, because they do have different roles.
They have different roles and different training.
Absolutely.
And I've actually just found out, because the thing that I realized in all of this, I was like, cars are involved with all of these problems. What's the training related to cars? And I dug deep. So we can talk about that too. But there's a difference in how CBP treats it, because you think of crossing the border, they get lots of vehicle training versus ICE agents. But sorry. So when it comes to here with the warrants, the way that if it's a criminal prosecution, right? If it's a criminal case, which is why this is so deeply messed up, right? Because technically crossing the border is a civil offense.
Yep.
It is not a crime.
Right.
I don't care who tells you that it is. It ain't. Okay. Unless they actually trespass on someone's private property, then they can call it a crime, which is why in Texas they do that a lot, because people will build their houses around the border so that when people cross it, they can, and like they'll have people live there and they could call it, private property. it's not a crime. So that means that you have to get there's no way for you to get a warrant, right? So if you need a warrant to be able to prosecute this person, you need to have a crime that they've committed and get it from a judge, or have reasonable suspicion in order to get it from a judge, right? But if you're not going after them for a crime, you're screwed, first of all. Second of all, they're not getting the warrants from a judge. They're going through an administrative judge, right? So they're coming after them for a crime, right? And putting them in detention for it. And they're not getting the required documents needed to prosecute a crime against them. They're using administrative warrants, which is, and actually over the last 5-6 months, what they've been doing is they literally have someone sitting there typing warrants. That's an administrative assistant who will send it to a judge, so that the cops will, or the immigration enforcement will sit there and wait while it's being drafted. And they actually can't make that person stay and wait if they stop them in a car or something, but they're having them do it anyways because people don't know their rights. Right. And they're waiting there until they get the warrant, and then they'll go over there. And it is such a miscarriage of justice. And so when he says, they need a warrant, he knows that he's fudging it, because the entire point was, you guys need a criminal warrant to enter somebody's house, period. I don't care if it's an administrative issue. I don't care if it's a criminal issue. If you want to enter somebody's house, you need a criminal warrant, period. If you want to enter somebody's car, you need a criminal warrant, period. That's the only way you can get them to stop. That's the only way you can get into their stuff. And he knows that that's the difference. And by him ignoring that difference, he is deliberately trying to mislead the American people. So I know it's a long explanation, but that's...
And it was a perfect one. And we're not even going to touch on the fact that, well, we are touching on it, I guess, that two of these victims, these last victims, weren't even the people that they were after in the first place.
Right.
They were the wrong people.
Right.
And they killed them.
And so I did a lot of research, and we're in a friendly space here. So I want to test this out too, because I'm about to do it in other places. There's been 18 different people who've been shot by ICE agents or CBP agents since January of 2025. Or it might actually be January 2026. Let me go back and look, but either way, it's too many. And the only people whose names we know are the white ones. Isn't that crazy? Like, that's the only people whose names we know, because there were citizens. Like, it's not just because the white people are citizens. Like, some of the other people are citizens, and it shouldn't matter, period. They're people, they're humans. It's just, I haven't heard anybody say that yet. And it needs to be said, and it needs to be said in a place where lots of people can hear it, because it's another piece of proof that you can take to the other side and go, like, why is this the way that it's being dealt with? Why is DHS only offering explanations in the context of a white person getting shot and nobody else?
No. And this is just one example of why I think that Blanche's not going to be a good attorney general. Like, I don't think Pam Bondi was, because they're not respecting the rule of law, in these cases specifically. But there's in my mind, an even worse case where I know he's not going to respect the rule of law. So he gets one strike on ICE and Border Patrol. He gets a second strike on, when we're just looking at his prior statements. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
That's the audit. Look at his prior statements to see whether he consistently prioritizes legal principles over partisan outcomes. Now, this is Trump's whole immigration thing that they were all crazy about. So we know where he stands on that. He's going to defend the president's. And okay, if you want to give grace, the attorney general, he's a president's cabinet member. Yeah, he's supposed to carry out the president's agenda and defend him on stuff like that. But it's January 6th, his statements on January 6th that really, really bothered me. We got a clip from, I think it was CPAC. He was talking with Matt Schlapp about the January 6th guys. And this is what really does it for me when it comes to respect for the rule of law. Can you run that clip, Keith?
And so, look, when you talk about justice, we're working hard every day. And I don't just say working hard as a cliche. I mean, the Attorney General and myself, every single day, 7 days a week, are focused on bringing justice, and it will come. And I know every single person in this room is saying to themselves, why is it taking so long? Raise your hand if you're just thinking that. All right, I was basically right. And here's the answer. Here's the answer. I want to talk about it. Here's the answer. For one, it's not taking so long. For one, we have already done more in 1 year than any administration has ever done before. If you look at what happened to the men and women convicted because of January 6th, by 5 p.m. on January 20th, every one of them was either pardoned or had their sentence commuted, okay? So when folks say you've done nothing, I say you have a very short memory. When you look at the Christian community in this country.
Okay.
Into this, he don't work for you.
Okay.
Rude.
He's talking about how this president and his Department of Justice worked so hard to get pardons for the criminals of January 6th.
Mm-hmm.
For the people who were indicted, prosecuted, some were serving jail sentences, or I guess some were waiting to get sentenced, getting them off the hook for lawlessness on January 6th. I don't know about you, but for me, that's also disqualifying.
I hear you. Totally agree.
That's a finding as far as I'm concerned for that outcome.
Mm-hmm. Check.
2 findings on an outcome. I mean, it's, how are you going to lead the Department of Justice, with career prosecutors, some of whom, and actually, I think they fired all of the people who were.
Yeah, I think they did actually.
I think they got rid of all of them. I think I heard them bragging about that. Yeah, anybody who was involved in that, these are career prosecutors who didn't have a say in, what cases they had to take. It's like, oh, you're going to take this, you were assigned this, and they fired all of those guys. Got rid of them. They either fired them, retired, or were pushed out some other way. That's under his watch as deputy AG, mind you. It's under Pam Bondi, but he was still deputy AG.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you telling me that's respecting the rule of law?
And not partisan?
But this is someone we want as America's lawyer?
Pass.
Hard pass.
Hard pass.
So out of 2 outcomes,
F.
we've already got 5 findings. So for not confirming this guy as the next AG.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
We've got more to go.
I mean, it's shame. Those statements to me were shameful.
I agree. Of course. And law enforcement doesn't agree with him. Law enforcement takes the exact opposite posture because they want to protect their brothers that, were violently harmed on that day.
I mean, my buddies Harry Dunn and Mike Fanone and Aquilino Gunnell, I'm sure they're pissed. I mean, they've been pissed for a long time about this, but to hear, Blanche say stuff like that, that's, it's a slap in the face to the American people and the rule of law. So
It is.
you've got 2 findings there for me. Under respect for the rule of law, I don't think he does. I think he's just another sycophant for Trump.
Totally agree.
And so let's just move on to
Number 3.
his professional background and experience. And what we should be doing here is considering whether their legal career, prosecutor, defense attorney, judge, etc., provides the breadth and depth of experience needed to oversee, a complex organization, a vast organization like DOJ. I'm going to say he has the necessary experience
Because he was a prosecutor.
because he was a prosecutor.
Yeah.
He checks that box, even though, just being a prosecutor, I don't know if that's
Like how many people take
so many
advantage?
others who have so much more experience other than just being prosecutors. But if we have to check that box here, I don't think there's any findings as far as his professional background and experience. Not an attorney, so you tell me.
I mean, I think
Bernie, what do you think?
the bar is so low because he'll you remember Lindsay Halligan when he appointed her to, I don't even remember what her job was, but like me looking at that, I think I was actually on CNN talking about Lindsay Halligan, about this issue because I was like, I can't imagine that you're defending her being qualified for this. First of all, I think she's like 28.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you can't be really good at your job, but you don't have experience to be working with people under you who've been doing this for 20 years. If you're a prodigy, right, you should prove that. And secondly, she's a civil defense attorney. Like she has no experience. And on top of that, right, if I put myself in her shoes, it's extraordinarily irresponsible to take on a job as an attorney that you're not capable of doing, right? That's one of the things that they teach us is don't get yourself sued by taking on a job saying that you're capable of doing it
That
when
you're not ready for it. Yeah,
and
exactly.
and that's why, you end up having to have a community when you're a lawyer because people will ask you to do stuff and you don't know how to do it. And you'll go, I don't know how to do that, but actually my friend does. And that's how you end up getting cases because you can send them back and forth. But,
I mean, and you make a good point. The bar is so low.
It's so
But
low.
I could say at least with Pam Bondi, she was a state AG. So
Right.
there was really not a question of whether or not she was qualified.
Right. True.
She had the professional background
True.
or experience to be the U.S. Attorney General. I mean, she obviously did.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, she was respected.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she had the
Well
equivalent of
respected.
Kamala Harris's job, I guess, right?
She was well respected in
Yeah.
that community until, she became a performative shill for Trump.
People can change.
As far as Todd Blanche's, leadership, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen much from him as deputy AG.
Right. Leadership.
So as far as leadership is concerned,
Right. Because it
that's
looks to me like you just get thrown in there when they need somebody to cover up for Epstein, which is the reason why I think Pam Bondi was appointed in the first place, is because she had experience covering stuff up related to Epstein.
and he obviously understands the law. So,
Yeah, he does. And he's smart. That's why he's able to manipulate it well.
exactly, which is why when we talk about respect for the rule of law, better.
Exactly.
Better.
Excellent
Todd
point.
Blanche. Better. And that's really one of the things that I look at these guys who, take these cabinet positions for Trump, and then they go and commit all kinds of lawlessness and
Yep.
Basically wipe their butts with the Constitution.
Mhm.
Better. Some of them do. His pick for DNI or his pick for someone running the intelligence community who has zero experience in the intelligence community. Maybe
Yeah.
they don't know better, but they should. Talking about biting off more than you can chew.
Right. Or like Bill Pulte, when they were trying to
Pulte.
appoint him, it's like, why? And
Yeah.
and we know why. It's because, they want to be able to build real estate all across the world.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, my cat just opened the door. I'm just gonna close it. Okay. I'm sorry.
no worries. No worries.
My cat, he
So-
just opened the door.
For me, I it's kind of I'll say it's kind of a meets the standard. I would give him this for
Right.
as
Well,
far
the
as whether or not
objective,
he has a professional
yeah.
background and experience. I'm giving him a meet standard.
Same.
I don't know if he exceeds it. He doesn't, in my opinion.
No.
But again, I'm not an attorney. You are.
I think you're right. I agree with your assessment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the next outcome.
Okay.
Number 4. And that's going to be handling of conflicts of interest.
Oh, great.
And what our senators should be evaluating here is, whether or not past or current relationships that could create conflicts, and whether or not the nominee has demonstrated a willingness to recuse himself
Yep.
when it's appropriate.
Oh,
I mean, when we talk about a willingness to recuse ourselves when it's appropriate, all we got to do is look back to 2017 when Jeff Sessions recused himself.
Jeff Sessions.
Let's go back to the Wayback Time
I
Machine.
forgot about that
Talk
guy.
about Jeff Sessions, who recused himself, which pissed Donald Trump.
He was so mad.
Not at all.
He was like, if I'd have known that, I never would have appointed him.
Boom. That's
Exactly.
it.
So now it's like, why
Yeah.
do you think he's appointing this guy?
So
If that
Yeah.
actually, if I were a senator and I were asking questions, that's the exact question that I would ask. I would say,
they should be asking
Yeah.
that.
I
I don't
would
think
say-
anybody asked that.
you know, the point is Jeff, he said, I never would have appointed him. Are you aware of that? You're aware of that question, aren't you? Which, by the way, they should be asking these questions. It's an adversarial witness. Like they should be asking these questions, like as if it's a cross-examination. And
Absolutely.
they shouldn't be coming in, like with a list of 10 questions with the goal of getting through them all, right? Your goal is to get one good answer. Because this guy he's a snake. He's just going to try to, weasel around. And so your goal is to make him stay with it until you get the answer or no answer. And that's the hard part about watching this for me, is because I'm like, but you're doing this so wrong. Like,
No, they are.
because you're not asking the follow-up. You're not asking the obvious follow-up question. Or they will ask the follow-up question, and then they'll ask the question that you're not supposed to ask at the end, because you're supposed to ask A, B, and C, but you don't ask D, because D gives them an opportunity to weasel out. Like, so like something like, so you did want this, and then that gives them an opportunity to say, well, actually, no, you just ask A, B, and C, and then let the public or the jury decide on their own once they've given you like confirmation of the facts. So it just goes to what you said at the beginning about, these folks just trying to get a viral moment or something that they can put in an email to fundraise, because they're not doing this in a way that's actually going to elicit accountability and good answers.
And that's the point of this whole exercise today, folks. If you're just tuning in, or if you joined us late,
Hi.
we're basically doing what our senators should be doing
Mhm.
and auditing I say audit, in government we use the term analysis, or when we look at someone's or the way I used to do it, I used to look at complex systems for defense contractors and do a business system analysis,
Mhm.
or an audit, if you will, of their system to make sure that they are following the rules,
Right.
not breaking any laws and things like that, and not robbing the taxpayers blind. So it was a big part of my job to make sure there was no fraud, waste, and
Right.
abuse. That was the biggest part of my job as a compliance officer for the federal government.
So you know what you're doing here. You know the format.
Know the format, know how to look at outcomes and get to findings,
Yes.
good or bad. And that's what our senators should be doing with this nominee. So
Absolutely.
we've gone through 4 of those outcomes.
Mhm.
We're on number 4 of 10, and 4 is handling conflicts of interest, where the big conflict of interest for me with this nominee is representing the president in criminal matters. That creates a direct and unavoidable conflict of interest, if you ask me. So
I love the Jeff Sessions thing. I think that was a perfect comparison, right? So
and why I brought that up is
one more time, right? We're going to do this one more time. We're going to bring somebody else in,
exactly.
and the president's qualifying restriction was, we need you to not recuse yourself,
Yeah.
or else I you're useless to me.
But that's the point.
Right.
Trump wants him to be AG. He's acting AG. He's been deputy AG. But will he, as Trump's former personal attorney,
Right.
will he recuse himself from all Trump-related matters, which would be necessary if he's confirmed? It would be necessary.
The
Maybe not.
level of self-dealing, corruption, and bullshit,
Yeah.
it never ceases to amaze me. Like, there are some people who do this job that we do, and they're like, I'm not surprised. And the thing is, I get it. I'm not surprised, but I'm still just as appalled. Like you'd think at a certain point that my emotions would not be triggered as much as they are when it comes to this stuff, but it means something to us. Like, you know, and at a certain point, you're just like, where did his integrity go? Right? Like, where is his? And then it makes you think about like, what do they think they're defending? Because they have to go to sleep at night and not hate themselves.
Right.
So, like, how are they justifying this level of corruption and bullshit to themselves? And that's a question that I ask myself all the time.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
You know, how do you sleep at night?
Yeah, that's my question. That would be awesome. I have 2 questions if I'm at this hearing. Number 1, how do you sleep at night?
Yeah, but again, if I were on that committee and I were asking questions, this is how I'd be treating it.
Yeah,
I would mention Jeff Sessions in the committee hearing. I'd say
absolutely I
You know,
would.
Jeff Sessions rightly recused himself from, you know, and that's how we got, you know, Jack Smith and all
Yeah,
of that. And,
yeah.
you know, you saw the shitstorm that Trump brought down on him after that, you know. So would Todd Blanche recuse himself from any and everything Trump related?
Because at the very least, you've given the American public the visual and you've set the standard and reminded them, right? At the very least, you've primed the American public for like you've given them a memory that we need in order to be able to have the context we need to understand this.
Right. And I don't think he'd recuse himself. Otherwise, Trump wouldn't have picked him.
No, there's too much Epstein shit.
Mhm.
Like there's just too much Epstein stuff for
Yeah.
I mean, he's already going to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. Like, what? You're the deputy
Don't even
attorney
get me
general.
started on the Ghislaine getting transferred from, you know, I don't think it was a supermax, but you know, she
Yeah.
from a maximum security prison to, you know, Club Fed,
They gave her a
Cupcake
puppy,
Fed, you know,
right?
a
Like
level better than Club Fed.
Club Fed. Fucking believable. Sorry, it just makes me so upset.
And it's really, and he had his hands in that. Would he recuse himself from all of that?
Yeah. So
No.
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 He's proven that he didn't. The guy who appointed him doesn't want to. F minus. Yes, F minus.
Another finding there. So, you know, we're 4 findings or 4 outcomes with I've lost track of how many findings.
I think this one's 5. Isn't this the 5th one? Or is this the 4th?
5%. Well, we're about to go into the 5th outcome.
Oh, okay. Got it. Sorry. Got it.
So let's just go right ahead, and
Let's
because
hop
I've
in.
lost track
Sorry,
of the
yeah.
number of findings. He's been disqualified since,
We're already halfway through, so
as far as I'm concerned, he was
Yeah.
disqualified.
yes.
Yeah, but the 5th, let's look at it. It's commitment to DOJ norms and traditions. Now, the DOJ, just like any other institution in the U.S. government, has longstanding norms.
Mhm.
For DOJ, it's around prosecutorial discretion and insulation from politics. You know, let's talk about what a few of those norms are.
Okay.
Independence from the White House, insulation of criminal investigations from politics,
Mm-hmm.
equal application of the law,
Mm-hmm.
prosecutorial discretion
Mhm.
guided by evidence and justice, and respect for career professionals. So those are those norms, and we talk about them all the time. You know, when we talk about our institutions and this, that, and the other, you hear about DOJ norms all the time. I just wanted to point out for people what those
Yeah.
some of those norms.
I didn't know
actually
all those, but it
So-
makes sense in terms of like respect for career professionals too, because it's like you don't get to undermine what somebody who's on the other side of the aisle says if they are worthy of your respect and consideration. Like
Absolutely.
that makes sense to me.
And if we just look at respect, you know, if you're going to respect DOJ norms and traditions, you know, transitioning from defending a client or the president against federal prosecution to overseeing federal prosecutors,
I'll never.
I mean, that obliterates
Yeah.
the norm right there by itself.
I agree.
You know, I mean, it's in and of itself, it challenges DOJ legitimacy. You know,
Yeah. And I think actually that's part of the point
Yeah.
because one of Trump's main goals, right? Because he wants to dismantle the American infrastructure
Mhm.
and replace it with his own. It was and is to instill a sense of distrust in our institutions
Yeah.
and norms for that matter. So what he's done is say, don't trust the career professionals, don't trust the quote unquote bureaucrats. I try to explain to people like, so my stepdad is like one of my favorite human beings. I think he's probably the best person I know. And he was a pediatrician for 20 years. And then he went back to school to get his degree in medical management. And then he worked for like management health services, like MHS and CMS, which is does Medicaid and Medicare he was a VP for 2 different states. And he lost his job and now does it in the private sector. But that's the kind of person who they were saying is the person that you don't trust, right? Like
Right.
somebody who was in the field for 20 years, went back to school to learn how to do this on a policy level because he wanted to make greater change to keep kids healthy. And that's the kind of person that he's saying don't trust, or he's just trying to make money off of stuff. And it's
Right.
like at a senior level, you're making like, I don't know, $100,000. Like it's not like it's a crazy amount or you're like getting insider trading about shit. Like that's not what's happening. That might be what's happening on Capitol Hill. But when they talk about career bureaucrats,
Right.
that's the kind of person that you're talking about. And it benefits them so much for people to not trust the experts. Because if you don't know who to trust, all you can do is look to him. And it's a psychological mechanism that dictators and evil leaders have used since day freaking one. So this makes sense to me that he would continue to try to undermine confidence in the DOJ by having somebody who is so conflicted, right? Because history is going to look back on this and know that, which I know he's concerned about, but they're rewriting that shit as we speak. He's undermined the CDC, he's undermined the Justice Department, he's undermined the Supreme Court, saying that they're disgraceful. He's undermined everybody. So why should this be any different?
I mean, it's not. I mean,
He
it just
doesn't want people to
just-
trust anyone but him.
it just adds to the continued politicization
Yeah.
of the DOJ, which
Yeah.
in recent, in both of his administrations, he was politicizing the DOJ.
Yeah.
It continues to erode confidence in our institution, which, let's be clear, they're doing that across the board.
Hmm.
We're specifically talking about this nominee and the DOJ,
Yeah.
but it just adds to that. I mean, Bondi, she made it worse. I mean, you can't get more politicized.
No, you can't.
They're continuously going after Trump's perceived political enemies.
Right.
Anybody that said anything bad about Trump in the news, or he's going after every news outlet and newspaper that writes something that's true,
Right.
Trump doesn't like. So we're going to have more than that. It just, when you throw in the fact that this guy was his personal attorney, with him on the January 6th guys and pardoning all of that. When Trump says, I need you to go after this news outlet, that person, he's going to do it.
He says jump and Todd Blanche says how high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean,
F. Yeah.
it's not the finding for me.
F.
Commitment to DOJ norms and traditions. I don't think he's going to do it. Thumbs down. Thumbs down indeed. I don't think he can do
Thumbs
it.
down.
Now, here's the next outcome, which is this ought to be a good one.
Okay. What number are we on? Wait, what number are we on?
We're on 6 now.
Okay.
6 out of 10, and we're going to go over on time today. But
Okay.
we're having fun.
We're having fun.
Probably won't get to any other news today. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But
This is important.
This is important because these are the questions and things that they should be talking about on the committee, but they're not.
Right.
They're not. They're grandstanding. I mean, on both sides.
Both sides.
And you got Republicans kissing his ass, talking about how great he is.
Mm-hmm.
And Democrats looking for a little moment that they can fundraise off
Soundbite.
of and maybe get a good sound bite. I get it. I'm not hating the players. I'm hating the game on this one.
We're
see
playing it for them right now, actually.
We see it every time. I mean, but this is what they should be doing.
Yeah.
So transparency and accountability.
Mm.
So what they should be looking at is how open this nominee has been in prior roles and whether they support oversight from Congress and
Oh,
and
that's a good one.
inspectors general. Now we know what his predecessor's record was on that,
Yeah.
and this administration's across the board
Hmm.
throughout agencies, especially like DOD or Department of War, as
Yeah, I know.
Pete Hegseth likes to call it.
I can't
It's-
imagine how that makes you feel.
Yeah, my former department.
I know.
But we know what they're doing with inspectors general.
They're getting fired.
Getting rid of them.
They fired 19.
Yeah, they're getting rid of them.
There aren't even that many departments. Like, how did you fire
This is-
19?
This is what our senators should be asking him in his confirmation hearing. You know, defense attorneys are not typically positioned to demonstrate openness to congressional oversight,
Yeah.
but how he would handle scrutiny of an AG as AG is important.
I like that.
It's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm trying to be as objective and give as much grace as possible.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Because as somebody who's
Looking at the track record of, him in this administration as well.
yes. And as somebody who's practiced against defense attorneys, typically, right, their job is to try to withhold as much information as possible, because even from an objective perspective, the more stuff you turn over, the more documents you turn over, the more the more the other side is able to use them against you.
Right.
So whether they should or they shouldn't, it's like when lawyers tell their clients to stop talking, it's like whether what you're going to say is going to help you, you think it's going to help you, or it's not going to help you, right? Just, more information can sometimes always be bad, right? So
I get that.
so that when you just said that, that's what it made me think of. Like, they don't defer to disclosure like plaintiffs' attorneys will say, like, yeah, we know there's nothing wrong, so we're just going to turn over everything. And the other side's like, well, I just don't want you to use it against them improperly. And that's a legitimate argument, right? However, when you are in a position like Todd
Back to
Blanchard,
the Epstein files.
right? When you're already in such a conflicted position, objectively in such a conflicted position, you should be more transparent. And I feel like all of this administration's changes since the inauguration has been to limit as much transparency and accountability as possible. Like the article that I'm working on right now is directly related to the ICE/CBP murders. And I was thinking about how, like, the Hegseth said, maximum lethality, not tepid legality, when it came to, the new Department of War ethos and what they believe and what their policies are. And I was like, well, it's the same thing here. It's the same thing on the streets of the United States of America. It's, we're just going to be as lethal as possible and not give a shit about the protections that exist. And part of it is because the American public has learned to hate the word regulation, because the people who control the airwaves, who are the big corporations, don't want to be regulated. So it like clicks in a lot of Republicans' minds, oh, that's like a lack of innovation. It's because Democrats don't want people to do well, blah, 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 whatever bullshit.
And that's bullshit.
It's whatever nonsense bullshit, they've come up with. But the point is that they don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to have to care about people or to take care of them. And so they're trying to limit the accountability mechanisms and the transparency mechanisms as much as possible. And I would argue for this particular category that appointing Todd Blanche is the failure of transparency and accountability.
Boom. You said it. And again, let me touch on before I say that. Let me touch on the regulation part. As a compliance guy, regulation was my job.
Yeah.
It was my job to make sure that defense contractors were adhering to regulation. Me personally, I don't believe in regulation for the sake of regulation.
Sure, of course.
Being a guy who's through volumes and volumes of regulation and had to know them,
Hmm.
I understood why those regulations were there.
Right. There's so people don't
None of them
die.
were frivolous.
Right.
You know, they were there for a reason.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if this is a regulation from the government, it's because somebody did this. Somebody made this mistake. So this became a regulation. So
Exactly.
that mistake wouldn't be repeated.
Exactly. And that's why people don't like tort reform, right? Because they'll say tort reform is basically for the folks that's a new term for. It's like the kind of law where they might call them like ambulance chasers, people who get injured and then they sue the business or they sue whatever that's responsible. They don't There's been a specific campaign since 2004 to teach people that this is bad for business, this is bad for the insurance companies, whatever, which by the way, that's the insurance companies controlling the narrative. But the point is that they don't want to have to be held accountable when they do something wrong. So rather than figuring out how to solve the problem that's causing injuries, instead, they're blaming the person who's trying to hold them accountable for trying to hold them accountable. And that's really like this backwards cycle that got created because of propaganda. And that's my own feeling about it. But
And I get it. I mean, as a compliance guy, not everybody wanted to be transparent
right.
with me, but I had a set of tools where I would go in and I'd look at things. And if I had a finding and that finding came up once, okay,
Yeah.
it could happen. If it came up twice, now we got an issue.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to dig into your system and I'm going to look at specific things under specific outcomes. And I'm going to find out if you got a problem. And I think this administration has a problem with transparency, just looking at, and the reason I'm not giving Todd Blanche a pass on this is because he's been around the whole time. Not just because he was the president's personal attorney, but he's been deputy AG. He's acting AG now. So he's been around. He's been around while they're getting rid of all of these career prosecutors who did the right thing on January 6th, or when they were prosecuting those January 6th criminals. You were there when they got rid of all those guys. You even bragged about it.
And this is one of my favorite arguments.
We don't have that clip, but he did brag about it.
It's because you knew better. You knew better and you did it anyways. You saw what the problems were and you did it anyways. And that's the part that makes me really angry.
So do I believe he can be as transparent as possible and accountable? I do not. So,
or as transparent as is necessary in order to meet the qualifications here? Definitely not. F, additional F.
Boom.
Boom.
Gets a finding on that outcome. Let's move on to number 7.
Okay.
Civil rights and equal justice.
Hilarious.
That's one of the things that the senator should be reviewing, his record on enforcing civil rights laws and ensuring equal treatment under the law. Now, I don't think there's much of a record on Blanche articulating a clear vision for civil rights enforcement or broader DOJ policy priorities, but so I don't know if I give him a pass. I'll let you tackle that one as
so the CPAC clip that we played kind of revealed his priorities, right? Because he mentioned Christians being prosecuted or persecuted, and he mentioned January 6th, right?
Great point.
So I think that is at least revelatory of what his priorities are. And if those are also, which we know they are because Harmy Dillon has made it very clear that that's what she's working on, from that exact same perspective, then that level of equal justice, that level of civil rights, I don't want to say regulation, that level of paying attention to civil rights in general, right? Making sure that justice is administered equally is very unlikely to happen. And I think that also when it comes to equal rights, to me, you really can just stop at January 6th, because why are you not standing up for the officer who got the life almost beat out of him? Like, who got ganged up on? Why are you not standing up for him? Where is the equal justice in that?
Yeah.
right? You're not looking at, because you can just reduce it down to when you've got two parties on opposite sides of the V, which is like, X v Y, Smith v Jones. You got two opposing parties on the side of the V. You have to treat those people like they're both of equal value, and that they are equally deserving of consideration in terms of their
Under the law.
credibility, in
Exactly.
terms of what the outcome is going to be in the case. And if you are taking the side of the supporters of the president over law enforcement, you got a problem, bro.
You got a problem. Nope. I'm going to give you that one. And I love the way you frame that,
Thank you.
because
you.
again, there isn't much of public statements where Blanche talks about civil rights, but you frame that just right, just looking at the things that he's focused on and that he has talked about when it comes to, equal rights for people and equal justice.
And what's interesting is in that clip, even
loved it.
thank you. What's interesting in that clip even is when he says, how many people are actually thinking that, right? How many people are thinking that it's taking too long?
Oh yeah, he got an applause from the crowd, but he knows it's at CPAC, so you've got the
right. But he knows the manipulative tactics, right?
Mhm.
They all do. And so what is clear to me is that he knows how to hedge, right? He knows how to call attention to and he knows how to anticipate objections. He knows how to look at the frame and go, okay, this is my perspective. What's the person who's on the other side thinking, right? Okay,
Right.
the other side's thinking we're taking too long. So you know how to do that. So actually what you could have said, instead of just trying to keep the people that are on your side tipped even more in your favor, and get more money, because that's what CPAC is about.
Right.
What you could do, right, instead is address actual objections, right? Like address, because you know how to do that. You're anticipating objections now. So
Mhm.
that's what equal justice is addressing both sides, not just trying to make people give you their money by having them by planting a flag in front of them. So
No, and that's exactly what he's doing now, and that's exactly what his predecessor, Pam Bondi, did.
Yep.
So another finding. Thanks. I might have missed that one. I might have gone neutral on that one, saying not enough stuff, but I like the way you framed it under
Thank you.
looking at the things that we had already found on him. So
It's what he didn't say.
what he didn't say more
Yeah.
than what he did say. Love that.
Mhm.
And that's a finding in and of itself.
Yes. Omission.
Omission. Exactly. Let's move on to number 8.
Number 8.
Approach to high profile or politically sensitive cases. So what our senators on that committee should be looking at here is look at how they would have handled, or Blanche would have handled, or said he would have handled cases involving powerful individuals and political figures. So
I don't even know where to start.
and we keep coming back to this. His defense of a highly polarizing political figure, i.e., the president, leads to concerns of how he would oversee investigations involving. Let's just give him some grace. Let's give him some grace here and say he did the right thing, like Jeff Sessions, that I'm going to recuse myself of anything involving Trump. But would he do that for other Republicans?
Oh, yeah.
No. So, I mean, I'm pretty skeptical. I'm very skeptical that he wouldn't work to shield allies of President Trump and aggressively pursue opponents of President Trump, like Democrats.
That's why he's there. That's why he's there. Like, between the Jeff Sessions thing, that we were talking about, where that's the reason why he was fired. And then it was so funny, the response that he gave to John Kennedy's question, which was a softball. Right? It was just, are you and the president friends? The answer is just yes. Like the answer is just yes. But he got so nervous in answering it that he started hedging in the moment. And it's like that was a softball, bro, because this guy's already on your side. That follow up, those next 3 follow ups, if you play along with him, are going to be very good. So what that actually tells me is that he doesn't trust that these guys are on the same page as he is. And I think that's very interesting because he didn't prep with them because he was too egotistical to do that. He probably didn't think he needed the prep, which we know Trump often says, I don't need the prep, right? Yeah. He probably came in and said, I don't need it. And he couldn't even take the softball from Kennedy because we heard what his follow-up questions were. He would have had him. It would have been fine for him.
They were basically handing him the ball.
Right. It was just there's the ego. And that's the interesting part too, is that I see them faltering at times when their ego really does stand in the way. And I mean, like that's every myth ever, like every ancient story that they tell us. It could be like the most powerful person in the world, but their ego is their downfall.
Right.
And I watch for that sometimes because I think that Trump will get himself into trouble because his ego, like all of a sudden starts outweighing what his actual goals are. And it F's things up in the meantime. So I think that could have been specifically an issue today in the hearing.
No, and I think it is. And there's no guarantee there. I mean, we know Bondi did it.
Right.
And again, he was there. He was a deputy. So I have zero faith that, he'd approach high profile political sensitive cases in the right way.
He already hasn't. Epstein.
He did the right thing. So
I forgot about the New Mexico Attorney General letter. So just as Todd Blanche was coming out of the hearing, I think he was on a break or something. The New Mexico Attorney General's sent out a letter. I don't know how it came out at that moment, where he was saying that Todd Blanche has been actively suppressing investigation into 1 out of the 4 homes that Jeffrey Epstein had that's in New Mexico as a ranch there, and that they have been begging him to send over their resources from DOJ so that they can begin this investigation in the way that they can't do it on a state level because it's federal prosecution. They've been begging for it, and he will not give it to them. And they were using words like actively suppressing justice, like preventing that kind of justice from happening. And I don't know what he's going to say in response to that, because I just got that a couple hours ago when I was studying for coming on here. So I really got to see what happens next with that.
I mean, you could drop the Epstein files under, if you just go back and look at our last 8 outcomes, you can drop it under approach. We
don't even need that.
Civil rights and equal justice, transparency and accountability, respect for the rule of law, commitment to DOJ norms and traditions. I mean, you could drop it under all of them. So independence from the president, you could drop it under all of them.
I wonder
this whole
what
Epstein thing. It really, you could make that a finding in each one of them.
You really could. I wonder what Donald Trump's list of qualifiers would be for attorney general, like as opposed to what like the objective qualifiers are. I wonder what his list would look like.
Will protect me no matter what.
Right. Kiss his ass constantly.
Will do exactly what I say do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Essentially a puppet.
Okay. Finding.
F-. Big F-, might be the biggest one.
Management and leadership ability.
Ooh, this one's you, babe.
The AG oversees, again, a massive department. And you got to assess whether or not, he has the experience to manage a large, complex organization like the Department of Justice. I mean, he's never done it before. He became deputy AG. So, I mean, but he does have good experience as a former federal prosecutor.
How do you feel about him in terms of leadership?
I've never worked for him, so I can't be fair and objective there.
But you've seen what he does.
Looking at what he does, I can't imagine some of the career prosecutors who've been there through multiple administrations.
Yeah.
The rank and file guys are thrilled with either his or Bondi's leadership. I can't imagine that they are. And I have to defer to you know, defense attorneys like yourself and, you know, people who work at DOJ, like my good friend Glenn Kirshner, for their takes on that.
But I mean, leadership
just
is
don't-
consistent across the board. Like it's qualities that you have as a person that can help you lead, that can help you guide others in doing the job that they need to do.
Yeah.
And
And
I
see-
think that we talk about this a lot on the show because I think it matters to you. It matters to the viewers. Like it matters to all of us.
So for me, if I were really doing an audit of this, I would go and talk to department heads
Mhm.
at DOJ.
Yeah.
I would, you know, look at see if I would talk to his boss or supervisor before
Yeah.
Bondi and see what were his reviews like.
Like the Office Space guy.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's how I would dig into that.
Yeah.
You know, talk to people that he's worked with in past, staff. You know, because he has that as a prosecutor, he had to have legal staff with him. You know,
Sure.
that's how I would assess his leadership ability. You know, obviously Trump thinks well, no, he doesn't think that. He just thinks that this guy will do whatever I say. He's my
Right.
personal attorney.
Right.
You know, so management and leadership, I'm going to say neutral. I'm neutral there. No findings per se,
Oh,
but I don't believe, and this is the personal
Yeah.
part about me. Yes, he's been deputy AG and he's acting AG now. But how's the department running?
Right.
That's where I'd have to dig in if I'm being fair. And the senators have that kind of ability. Nobody's asking these questions,
Yeah.
but they have the ability to find out, you know, what's morale like at DOJ right now?
Right.
You know, and that speaks to leadership. So,
Absolutely.
and his ability to be a leader and Pam Bondi's ability to be a leader. So, you know, he's got experience as a prosecutor, so he obviously knows the law, but that's different from being a leader.
Yeah, it is. Very, very different.
Last but not least,
Dun, 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 dun.
final outcome, your ethics record. That's what senators should be focusing on.
That's a good
Check
one.
for any past ethical issues, disciplinary actions, or controversies that may raise concern about judgment and integrity. And look, to be fair, and I'm trying to be objective as possible,
Mhm.
while there is no widely reported misconduct, one could reasonably be forgiven for scrutinizing his legal strategies used in his defense of Trump and argue that this reflects a more adversarial posture towards federal institutions. So,
Yeah. I think that's fair.
yeah,
I mean, you could say he's just doing his job, but I think
yeah,
that,
you can say that. And you
but
can say that's fair. I was just defending my client.
exactly. But who the hell is your client who you're working for now?
Exactly.
Right. And that's the response. But I think actually, your point is well taken because in the most recent case that I think actually Todd Blanche was involved in, where it was the self-dealing slush fund one,
Mhm.
where he was trying to figure out how to, like do the settlement and all of that and keep it away from the judge and restructure all the financing and everything.
That was a
The
really shitty
judge-
thing in and of itself because
The judge ripped him a new one and then referred all the lawyers that advised Trump to do this to the ethics board because she said, you know better than this. You know this is bullshit.
was it the ethics board or is that like the New York State Bar?
It was to this, yeah, it was to the state bar.
So what are those sanctions? What should they look like
So
after you've been referred to the bar?
it's
It's not that he's going to lose his license, right?
he
Or his
could.
ticket.
It just depends on like he has a hearing and he'll have somebody represent him and it'll be before like the ethics committee and he'll have to of the state bar and he'll have to make his case as to why he deserves to keep his license and sometimes
Like you
they'll
said, he can just say, I was doing what the president wanted me to do. He's my Oh, he's doing this on behalf of the DOJ, though, right?
So yes, he'd be doing it on behalf of the DOJ, and so that I think the referral to the New York State Bar is amazing. That was my favorite thing that I've heard happen in judiciary plus politics world.
Like
Was
basically,
with
this is
this
bullshit. There's no law here that you're even. Where do we talk about settlements in the law with the IRS?
You're not allowed to advise your client to do some bullshit things. And if your client is like, you're working with the president on behalf of the United States of America, you should know better.
Know
And
better.
I'm fining you for not knowing better. So the sanctions could look like him losing his license for a temporary period of time, him having to take remedial courses, him like public apologies, or they can get creative. They can do a bunch of different things, but it's often it's a fine and the suspension of a license for a certain period of time where you can't practice as a punishment.
I'm going to call that a finding.
Yeah.
Someone who's trying to be the U.S. AG.
Did you refer to the state bar?
You mean to tell me you brought this shit to my courtroom?
Right.
You should know better. Even though your client, the president, is basically suing himself, you should have known better.
And go fly. Yeah.
I think that qualifies.
I do too. I mean, it's directly relevant. And it's not like it was some other proceeding that was 10 years ago, completely unrelated to it. It's this now. It's this right now.
Right now. And I've heard him trying to explain all of that away a lot of times. Like, oh, none of that's moving forward. And,
Yeah, because of you. Like, because you made some nonsense bullshit up to try to
appease Trump.
Still happen, right? So,
and let Trump continue his grift.
Right.
It's basically to appease Trump.
Right.
So yeah, I think that qualifies. That's a finding.
Finding.
As far as I'm concerned, under that outcome.
I agree.
So out of 10 outcomes, I think he gets grace on 1 or 2.
I give him an F minus. He broke the scale. Get out, Todd Blanche.
Again, and that's just, ladies and gentlemen, Maggie and I going down a checklist of outcomes that our senators should be focused on during this Senate confirmation hearing that they're not, that they haven't been, that they weren't. It was more of the same. Today, it was asking a bunch of questions that, and I don't think my party did a great job of holding this guy's feet to the fire, for lack of a better term, in that confirmation hearing. I mean,
you can't take the feet off. Like you can't take the fire away. Like you have to keep it on there. It's not about your questions. It's about his answers.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think he gets confirmed. I know that he can't lose but 1 vote. Now you may have a couple, maybe 1 or 2 senators who are Republican senators who are kind of pissed off at Trump and may vote the other way.
Yeah.
But I don't think my party, the Democrats, did a good enough job.
I agree.
In auditing this guy's record today and holding his feet to the fire.
But I think we did a great audit today. This was a really fun exercise.
I think Maddie and I did a better job, probably.
I think we did a great job. I'll be honest with you.
I had fun doing it. So
yeah, for sure.
But again, that's what it's all about. That's what it should be all about.
Definitely.
Holding people's feet to the fire
in
confirmation hearings, holding them accountable for their actions in the past, and seeing whether or not, they would be the right fit to head a department like that.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think Todd Blanche is, needless to say. And I tried to be as objective as possible.
You were more objective than I was.
So
far more. I was just mad.
For those who see these clips later, spoiler alert, I wasn't very objective in my opinion because the die was already cast. I'd seen enough before. He shouldn't have been nominated.
He should have been nominated.
So he shouldn't have been deputy AG either, if you ask me. But much less be nominated for AG or be acting AG.
Totally agree.
And with that, folks, I think we we've gone well over our time today,
Yes, we
so I think
did.
we should go ahead and wrap it up. Maddie, thank you for helping me sort through all of this with
Thank
the
you.
legalese.
Helping me sort through it.
You know, I had fun doing this.
Me too.
Again, if our senators see this or people see this, now you know what should have happened and why these norms and traditions are important. And this isn't just a check the block thing, confirming a department head. It really isn't. It should be taken more serious. But what
Totally.
these things have become now, I mean, and it irks me every time we see this. Oh, it's just clips for a news cycle, and that's how we end up getting these bad department heads, like guys like Pete Hegseth.
Ooh, I don't like him. Ooh, I don't like him. You know,
Yeah.
did you see that article today that just came out where he's trying to give soldiers testosterone now because to increase lethality?
I haven't seen that one, but that is ridiculous. So,
That's a true story.
oh, I'm sure it is. I mean, nothing surprises me with these guys nowadays.
It's horrible.
All right, everybody. That's our show for today. We appreciate you for joining us. Tune in next week when we'll see what we got. So,
See what we got. Thanks,
Godspeed,
guys.
everybody. Bye.